The beauty of sim racing is its accessibility. Whether you want to race on the high banks of Daytona, fly your way through the yard of bricks at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, or challenge yourself around the world's greatest road courses, iRacing has it all. For a select few though, dreams have become reality. Just ask William Byron, a winner in the NASCAR Cup Series. Ask Lauren Heinrich, a Porsche Junior driver. Or ask Max Esterson on his way up the open wheel ladder on his road to Formula One. The young New York native has gone from iRacing sensation to British racing superstar, and today we celebrate him in Max Esterson's iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker. Hello everyone and welcome to RaceSpot TV. Welcome to the iRacing Esports Network, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted to be joined by Justin Prince. And Justin, we're here to get the cars out on track and to challenge Max Esterson like he might not have been challenged much in the last couple of months as he focuses on real-world competition. Today we return him to the sim. Today we go to Spa-Francorchamps, where drivers have qualified to challenge themselves at this great racetrack.
Today should be a fun event, to say the very least, with plenty of competitive drivers, especially when it comes to the car we'll be seeing on track today. And these competitors have been working very hard to prepare themselves for this moment, for their opportunity to see who's the best, especially with the opportunity to try and beat Max on the racetrack for what should be some busy battling in the heart of the pack, especially today.
Max spending some time back home in New York this week. Well, we're going to celebrate his accomplishments. We're going to put him up on the task. Let's talk about what we've got in store for you today, what we're handing out courtesy of our friends over at ButtKicker. It was a week-long time attack session fest that brought us to this point. The fastest time attack qualifier is going to win over $1,000 in ButtKicker products, the ButtKicker Gamer Plus 4 Corners kit, as well as the Haptic Connect Ultimate software that ties it all together. 3 random participants will win one of the Gamer Plus or Gamer Pro tools, along with the software as well. Once we get underway for the 45-minute race, though, we hand out more prizes. In total, almost $4,000 of ButtKicker products are on the line. JP, you and me have been involved in sim racing for a while. We've seen ButtKicker involve themselves with sim racing series a lot. Today, though, we are seeing them take the next step, partnering with a young driver on his way up the ladder.
Yes, indeed. It should be fun to see which drivers come out with the main prizes. Lots of value amongst those, and lots of experience when it comes to being able to build yourself up with the type of equipment from ButtKicker. But it's going to be fun to see how they battle against Max Esterson, especially when it comes to his experience in the sim and experience with this chassis. But when it comes to this racetrack today, Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, today will challenge many of the competitors with the balance of speed in sectors 1 and 3, but also also the technical parts of the racetrack in Sector 2 in particular to try and get yourself situated to make sure you're quick by the time you get up to Blanchimont to Sector 3.
Max Esterson is getting set for the next rounds of the 2022 GB3 Championship, where he runs in the Formula 3 machinery around Great Britain. Next time, though, they head here to the Ardennes Mountain a week before the famous 24 Hours of Spa to get their crack at this legendary racetrack. So much elevation change, and in a Dallara Formula 3 car, JP, what do we expect? Drafting to play a difference.
Draft should be absolutely huge, especially the run up the Kemmel Straight. Also expect some big time deeper breaks into the final chicane off the 19 and 20 to be able to time things up, to be able to try and get passes done. But danger zones today. Lecoman's turns 7 through 9. You also have the danger that can pop up in turns 10 all the way up to 12 if you don't play careful here at Spa.
Well, let's talk to the man of the hour himself. Let's talk to Max Esterson and learn about his path to where he is today, learn about what today is all about. Max joins us now. And Max, let's talk about how things started in sim racing, where you made your way up through the ladder to Vendaval Sim Racing. Talk to us about your first experiences, here on iRacing.
Yeah, it was probably maybe 10 or 11 when I started. It was actually on my brother's Logitech G25 that he got gifted for Christmas, I think. So kind of a funny way to start. And then, yeah, it was just kind of for fun at the beginning. And then maybe 3 or 4 years in, I started to realize I was getting quite good. So put a lot of time into it. And then, yeah, kind of ended up at the pro level on iRacing in 2018 and 19, doing the VRS GT World Challenge Series. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And then, moved over to real racing after that.
And in some ways, while COVID-19 was, very much a world changer for many, it was for you as well, but in a slightly positive way. You went from taking this virtual endeavor to the real world. What was that transition like? Talk to us about that process.
Yeah, it was really lucky for me, to be honest, because it allowed me to move to England to start racing over there because I was able to do school remotely. So yeah, it really worked out for me. And I started in Formula Ford over there at the end of 2020 and then did the whole season in 2021. And then this year stepped up to the GB3 Championship. So yeah, it's happened all really fast, but it's been great. And I've loved every minute.
And to that point, you say it's happened really fast, but many will go from karting for many years to junior formula and slowly work their way up. Because of when you really started doing this in the real world, you don't have the luxury of time. How has it been for you using iRacing to get up to speed with many of the tracks that you've been competing on this year and to really try and elevate and accelerate your development?
Yeah, it's been great because I've known all the tracks I've been racing this year for 5 years or so because I've used them on the sim so much. But it's great to get on the sim, before a test day or before a race weekend still, even now, just to kind of prep and just get my head in the game. So yeah, it's been, invaluable, really. It's helped me immensely.
Talk about this year. Of course, your first race in GB3 maybe a little bit of a struggle, but you've won, been on the podium since then. It's a new championship. How have you been enjoying, 2022?
Yeah, it's a huge step up from Formula Ford. About 20 seconds per lap faster on an average track. So completely different. Huge competition. But yeah, first weekend was tough, kind of mid-pack, and then really stepped it up after that with kind of a two fourths at Silverstone. And then the next weekend at Donington, I had a third and got my first win. So yeah, it's been great. Still learning a lot. It's very tricky. Qualifying's, ultra important. It's really difficult to overtake with high downforce cars. But that's kind of how it's been. Just learning how to qualify is the main thing.
And I'll ask you one last question before we release you to get ready to race, because we're sure that your competitive juices are ready to flow. But in terms of that transition, you're now, a couple of years into this, and knowing what you know now, what would you say are some of the more important things to take from your iRacing experience if you want to carry them forward into the real world?
Yeah, I guess just learn how to, deal with high pressure situations. There's races on iRacing I remember, like in qualifying, where I was just super nervous. So just getting used to that feeling, 'cause it's the same in the real thing. That's kind of the main thing I learned is, just try to control the nerves before a race, and just that helps you perform at your best.
Thanks for chatting with us, Max. Looking forward to seeing what today holds in store for us. That was Max Esterson, the man that we're celebrating here today, but we're ready to get underway with our 45-minute timed race for the Max Esterson iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker. Let's not dawdle any longer. Let's run you down through today's starting grid. And it will be the fastest man in the time attack qualifying's fastest in qualifying itself. Alfredo Malo will get us underway at the start of today's race. Alongside him will be Kobe Williams in the 994. Will Redford and Pablo Espez right behind them. Many familiar names in the iRacing universe inside of these top two rows with Ralph Benitez and Gianfranco Pagota, 5th and 6th positions. Rolling back in 7th is going to be Aro Lettinen with Matthew Stagg on his outside. Abdul Fattah and Alessandro Romanili complete the top 10. Chris Rosenkrantz and Evan Pikul 11th and 12th, while our final couple of starters here today are going to be Max Esterson himself with Charlie Marin and Thorsten Ulrich making up the 15 cars winding themselves up for today. And I'll bring back in Justin Prince as the cars get gridded up here at the historic circuit to Spa-Francorchamps. It's a lot of fun. Let's remember what we're talking about as well with some of these storylines. Max Esterson very much going from virtual to reality. Let's be honest, everyone, including ourselves, whether it be in the comms booth, on the track itself, would love to do the same.
It takes so much work to be able to do that, keep in mind, especially to be able to get the right discipline, to be able to keep the right focus, to make yourself go from the virtual world to reality, to have that experience, to be able to showcase what you can do to the right groups. But now, it's about, for some of these drivers, showcasing what they can do against Max now.
The lights will come up, the engines will rev, we get ready to pay out almost $2,500 in ButtKicker products for the Max Esterson iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker here at Spa-Francorchamps. Green flag flies, we're underway. A nice tidy start as they work themselves up the hill in towards La Source. Your pole man leads the way down the hill and through La Source. All 15 cars nice and tidily fly their way down the hill on the run into Eau Rouge and the treacherous Radion that lies atop of the crest through that famous corner that everyone knows and loves. They single file themselves inside of the top 10. Here comes the draft train all the way down the Camel.
Camel Strike going to be one of the prime passing opportunities already. 2x2 a couple rows deep. That pressure expected to build. Some drivers going 3, nearly 4 wide into the braking zone.
They thought about 5 wide, they won't make it work. Will Redford will hit the front on the run into Lacombe. Carnage behind them. The top 6 safe from all of that. Still body parts going, flying. The likes of Fattah mixed up in that one. Potentially Esterson as well. Still almost 4 wide down the hill. Lock up the brakes from the 994 of Kobe Williams. He'll lose a place to Pablo Espez. Nice and tidy though. Will Redford, the number 6 car, takes the point.
Expected Will Redford to have some high expectations, especially with experience when it comes to open wheel competition. A strong, stellar start as well for Pablo Espez. But keep in mind, Malo, quickest amongst those in the time trials, looking to power forward as let's see what happened to Max.
Well, not much to say there other than craziness at the start of the race with not much on the line in terms of consequences. Plenty to pay out though for those that succeed. Maybe somewhat expected. Romanelli Esterson down on pit road. Rosenkrantz affected as well. He's at the very tail of the field as they wind themselves up through Curve Paul Frere on the power and up the hill on the run into Blanchimont. This is where that draft's going to be effect. And Espez already side by side with the race leader. A new driver will hit the front on the run into Blanchimont.
Slow down a bit for Redford in that mix, but still keeping the pressure up with Williams in the mix as well. This is one of the hard braking zones where you'll see drivers attempt to dive it on in towards this bus stop chicane before making that run to the start and finish line. This is one of the danger spots today, though, with how hard it is to time it up just right, Arjuna, without making contact.
Looks like Gianfranco Pagota, the latest driver to be involved in something into La Source. Look how much they check themselves up and run almost into one another. Down the hill once more they go with 27 odd minutes left on the clock. About 12 laps, 13 laps left in these Formula 3 cars that take about 2 minutes, 17 seconds to wind around the 7 kilometers in the Ardennes Mountain. Look at them fly over the top of the hill and already 3 wide before they get to the meat of the Camel Straight. side by side for the race lead, 3 wide for third.
This is a little bit tight. Have to be smart when it comes to the timing with all this. Not the greatest of positioning there to make it work for 3 wide, but what a good defense by Mal to be able to dive up to third.
The pole sitter, the fastest man in time attack qualifying, now out of the draft range of Redford and Espes, trying to stretch their legs, build the buffer that they need to try and get into the perfect position to control the tempo of the rest of the race. Down the hill, running wide on the climb down in towards Pouhon they go. Separation between second and third, 1.5, 1.6 and building. The pressure's on the 22 to try and close that up. The margin in time attack, Justin, you mentioned it before we went live, 7 thousandths split Alfredo Malo from Gianfranco Pagotto.
7/100ths to be quite specific when it comes to that, but not the way Pagotto might have wanted this to go. Amonsto's in the pit lane. But for Williams, Amonsto's expected to have some good expectations. The youngster continues to charge forward, has had plenty of experience when it comes to his assess, when it comes to real world competition, the 2019 KA4 Junior Australian Champion.
They get younger and younger in sim racing, and we talk about Max Esterson being part of the Vendaval sim racing team. Kobe Williams, one that represents the white and blue. I commentated on him in those famous colors just a couple of weeks ago. Battle further back though, while your top 3 are starting to get themselves all sort of sorted out. Benitez, Williams battling for 4th. More contact behind them. Looks like Ulrich's the one that's been punted off the road. Immediately a car dives down to the safety of pit lane. We've seen plenty of contact in this race so far. Sometimes it's what you expect. Like we said, when you have no consequences on the line, there's no live race control. There was an attempted look there down the hill into La Source. Nothing happened.
A little bit of a lockup though in the midst of that, and you have to be careful with the tires. The best of the best when it comes to this car know that yes, there's a significant amount of fall-off, but it also is counteracted by the fuel burn, making it the lighter the car gets, the faster drivers usually tend to go. And for a lot of these drivers, it's about finding that balance once you get that major fall off, but also keep up that speed with the lighter car. That's going to be also critical to be able to make passes such as this one and set yourself up for them in turn.
Espes in front of Redford and now almost 4/10 clear. Sounds significant, but with these low weight Dalaras, the low horsepower they have as well, draft is what is keeping them together, at least for the time being. It's up to half a second as they work down in towards Speaker's Corner. We still watch that battle. 4th on back. Pete Cool has joined the party in the number 23. Fata's not too far behind in the 13 as well. Plenty of cars involved in those lap 1 chaos moments that we had, starting to pick up the pace and work forward. It'll be crucial that they don't have too much damage, because we do have damage enabled for this race, JP.
And when you pick up damage, it can really impact your ability to rotate in the corners, especially, say, front wing damage. You pick up damage along one of the end plates, for example. Depending on how things fare out, you can have the counteracting damage pick up and hurt you in the counteracting turns, such as left side damage, right side turns going to be impacted, for example. You need to be careful, absolutely, to also not lose a tire when it comes to hard contact, with how easy it can be to pick up damage if you get too aggressive.
We talk about this virtual to reality is a bit of a moment then on the exit of Blanchemont. Side by side, they'll work into the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. Picul and Williams duking it out, battling for 5th position on the track. The 23 will slide its way on through. Confident, but not done just yet, because the 994 wants to fight back on the run up in towards La Source. Williams controls the inside, will get back through for now. Picul will try and get the run down this long run all the way to the braking zone of Lacombe, almost a full 2 kilometers.
And it's such a difficult task to be able to time it up just right to make the pass without losing significant amounts of time. You see right here, for example, you have to be able to make sure you don't get too close to where you end up having to lift off, cost yourself momentum. Be cool, just able to get alongside here, has a little bit of draft possibly from those snaking in front.
One car getting the assistance, the other one being hung out to dry, but it will be the lunge from the car on the inside to try and make it stick. Be cool, had a try. Williams grabs the place back. Matthew Stagg holds on to 8th as well. Plenty of fighting in this very, very short race as we work through the laps here. Gap for the leaders open up to almost 8 full tenths of a second as Redford slides backwards into the clutches of Alfredo Malo. It's Pablo Espez that continues to punch the hole in the air to lead the way here in the Ardennes Mountain. I was trying to say it before, but we talk about virtual to reality. We talk about these drivers, whether it be at national, regional, international level of series. Plenty do it at the regional level as well, get into club racing. We see it with many a World Championship competitor, and even some of us commentators as well. DJ Clark will be commentating on Formula E in a couple of weeks' time. Lewis McLeod, RaceSpot's own, gets to talk all about Max Esterson during GB3 competition. Winding up again, up the hill into Blanchimont they go. Espez not totally out of drafting range just yet, but more crucially, while Redford is not dropping back, Malo is closing and closing quick.
Malo before was about nearly 2 seconds back at one point, but it's not a surprise to see that 22 flying through the pack. Last time by 2:12.395. Malo just is now within that drafting distance and has a great chance to be able to attack Redford here. One of the quickest cars on the racetrack this time around, in fact. That time continuing to grow by 2 tenths quicker than race leaders.
Left side, you see the intervals between the cars rather than the gaps. Keep that in mind when you're looking down and you're seeing how far behind some of these drivers are. This facility, of course, updated recently to support motorcycle racing, coming back to Spa-Francorchamps. Gravel added at various points of the track, especially here at Eau Rouge and Radion. The outsides have been updated to be a little bit safer. You'll see that, of course, later this year when Formula One heads back to Belgium to end the summer break. But that is then, this is now. We still watch on board as in towards Lecombe they go. Picoul and Williams still going back and forth for 5th position, but losing time all the while. It's what we say, no matter what car you're in, the more you fight, the more you lose. And in these lower powered cars, JP, that's equally true, if not more true.
Exactly the point I was trying to get towards before, where if you end up getting to where you're having a wrestling match for, say, the 5th position, but it costs you 3 seconds to get that spot, then guess what? You know how difficult it can get to gain that 3 seconds back. Especially with this type of car, that's a lot of speed. You're going to have to hope you can catch up raw power in the amount of laps you have to click off consistently to be able to catch up to perfection. Is so critical. One mistake and it throws away the opportunity to catch up in general. So you have to be smart when it comes to your passing and hope you get it done pretty quickly if you were the faster car.
Dallara, of course, such a big supporter of all things iRacing. We've seen fantasy creations, the likes of the Dallara IR01 join iRacing a year ago. Dallara F3, IR18, LMP2, so many famous Dallara cars here available on iRacing. And as sports cars heads into its new future for prototypes, maybe we'll see more Dallara collaborations join the iRacing party in the next year or so. But of course, we're racing this F3 machine that competes across the world in Formula 3 competitions. GB3, what Max Esterson is more familiar with, similar power, similar weight. It's got the halo, of course, as all newer open wheel machines have nowadays, but very similar. And when we talked to Max before this race, he talked to us about learning the tracks. It's an invaluable tool. It's what I love about sim racing. We are truly simulating racing. I love my FIFA, I love my NBA 2K, but I'm not going to play a game of those and take anything forward to when I go out on the streets. Here's a battle side by side up the hill through Eau Rouge and up through Radion. Not where you want to be side by side, but fantastic fighting. They make it work.
Able to hold on for the time being still. Picoul and Williams still shuffling it out. Bit of a squeeze right now, just need to be safe. And there's the backup right there for the ARC.
Still fighting hammer and tong, tooth and nail, but they're outside of the podium steps. They're outside of those steps where our prizes will be handed out. Well, this is the Max Esterson iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker, and Max Esterson, not just now a Red Bull sponsored athlete, but partnered up with ButtKicker as well. And we had the chance to talk to them before this event when we pay out more than around $4,000 of ButtKicker products. We had the opportunity to speak to the head of gaming at the Gutimer company, Andrew Luden, to talk more about this opportunity.
Sure. So for sim racing especially, what we're doing is we're adding haptic feedback. So that's vibration that you're feeling that's true to life to what's happening in the sim, in the car. So more than just RPM, we're letting you feel things like traction loss, wheel slip, wheel lock, suspension. You're feeling some of the surface from the track, because with iRacing, you've got the laser scan tracks. So the telemetry information is there for what's actually going on with the track surface. So it's more immersive, but it's also a new sense of car control. So we hear people say it lets them drive faster laps, lets them drive more consistently. This is a step closer to what you get in a real vehicle.
And of course, we've seen that ButtKicker has been involved with sim racing for so long. In fact, sponsoring one of our iRacing World Championship Series coming up later this year. But to be involved with an athlete, what's that like? How's that different? What does it mean to the company?
Yeah, so we've sponsored different leagues in iRacing over the years, and we've seen great results. We really like supporting the community, and the product has started to filter out to drivers, both sim and real world, all over the place. One day in 2020, we got an order from Scott Pruitt, just over the blue on our online store. He called in asking for some tech support info, and we've kind of grown a great relationship with him since then. He's a family friend of the Estersons, and suggested that we look into sponsoring Max, since he's really going great places. And once we learned about his story, that he's jumped straight into open wheel racing without the kart experience, but with a ton of success in iRacing, we were really intrigued, because it kind of speaks to our story that haptics aren't just fun, they're also a way to improve car control. And with someone like Max, he's taking that into a professional career, and who knows, we might see him at that top tier of open wheel racing, hopefully.
And of course, that's all happening just after you've launched a couple of new products as well. So to get to interact with the community as part of that launch here today, when we're giving out so many of your new products, how important is that for you as a company?
Yeah, it's a great way, we think, to get the community involved with a driver that we really think is going places. We love having our name out there, but even more, we like having Max's name out there. He's recently got sponsored by Red Bull, so there's some proof that he's a contender in that world of open wheel racing. And to kind of bring this back to his roots, where he started in iRacing, I think is a really special event for us, for him, and for the rest of the people that believe in him.
Well, we appreciate you getting Max back on the sim. He's not been spending too much time in iRacing recently with all his real-world commitments, but we are really glad for this opportunity. We thank you for engaging with the community, and we look forward to more from ButtKicker and iRacing coming up soon.
Absolutely. Glad to be here, and can't wait to watch the race.
Less than 14 minutes ago, great to talk to Andrew, the head of gaming behind all things at the world of ButtKicker. The fight for the lead is going on. Redford retakes the point from Espes, but Mallow is closing, and he might just be the one to watch, Justin Prince.
Absolutely might have the chance, especially if they keep on scrapping. Still a decent amount of time to pick up, about 7/10 of a second to close up to Espes and company. But when it comes to Redford and Espes had controlled the tempo for much of this run, but it was Redford, keep in mind, who had to just patiently work his way back into this spot. Now it's about trying to see if he can hold on, especially knowing how the Spaniard is when it comes to that pace in the clean air.
I think people forget as well, 30 minutes, it sounds short, but when you're racing at this sort of an intensity, it feels like an age. The seconds, they tick by at a astonishingly slow kind of a rate. For Espes, for Redford, with Mallow closing, Benitez not too far behind as well. These laps are going to feel like an eternity. Winding it up once more, the run up through Stavelot, through the curve Paul Frere, up towards Blanchimont they go. 3 cars split by just over a second.
Now, right now in the popcorn seat, but Espes looking like he's trying to build up the run, heading through Blanchimont here, just has to time it up to be able to get the proper run. We've seen how powerful it is if you're able to play this right. Espes just right in the gearbox trying to set this up defensive line, what Redford looks like.
Inside or outside, will he commit or will he mind the time? With 12 and a bit minutes left to go, Malo, Benitez both closing. Williams not out of it yet either. The more you fight, the more cars we brought into the smorgasbord of action. Across the line, once more they go. Redford from Espes, Malo, Benitez, and Williams, the top 5 with Pikul, Fata, Stag, and Rosenkrantz and Marin. The rest of the cars inside of the top 10. We started with 15, unfortunately 4 have retired. The 11 that are fighting, still fighting for all they're worth.
Just looking like Espes trying to find the proper way to take advantage here. See if he can try and get the right run, but this is the chance. Kemmel straight. Set it up really well in that run up to Radion and El Rouge to try and get the diamond for this.
You're still climbing, albeit slightly. Espes will slide on through. Redford back into his toe. Malo closing bit by bit as well. Pikul, the 23, jumps in front of Kobe Williams in that battle for the top 5 position. They're side by side through the Lacombe chicane at the end of the Kemmel Straight. Still working side by side as they fly into Malmedy. Williams will get the spot back now. It's not done with still plenty of fighting left to go. And even when we get to the final lap at a track that is 7 kilometers in length with plenty of passing opportunities, you can't say it's over until the checkered flag is out.
It could go any direction, especially with the top 3 covered as tight as they are at this point. But also when it comes to Pikul and Williams, they've been having that wrestling match, it seems, all race long, where neither of those drivers can settle it on down with how aggressive it's been.
It is one of those races, though, again, where if it's aggressive, sometimes you don't back down. You come out swinging even harder. You go with the punch, you roll with the punch, and come back over with an overhand and see exactly how it will swing on out. Malo is well and truly in the double draft. Benitez just on the vestiges of getting the hole in the air that the 22 is punching up the hill once more. Remember, our winner will walk away with the ButtKicker Gamer Pro 4 Corners kit with Haptic Connect Ultimate Kit. A value of over $1,300. Second place, 2 Gamer Plus or 2 Gamer Pro units with the Haptic Connect Ultimate software as well. Just over $600 in value. Third place, the final step on the podium, will walk away with just one of those units. Side by side through the bus stop chicane, and you can see more cars closing all the while behind as well.
That's Brain Fata right into the battle. And keep in mind, when it comes to Fata, a very competitive driver who started off battling in the Indian Sim Racing Championships a few years ago, was a runner-up there after crashing in the finale. Now looks to try and showcase what he can do after all the work he's put in the past couple years to redeem himself from that moment back in 2019-20.
We talk about how sim racing is about accessibility and all the different things you can do here on iRacing. You can do it with people around the world as well. RaceBot TV, a shining example of that, with commentators all around the world. Side by side into Lacombe they go once more. How close do they dare to dance with disaster? Williams will have to give enough room for the 23 to bully his way through potentially. Williams is having none of it. The 17-year-old fights back.
Still not done yet. Williams still playing the defense. Pikul trying to get the diamond down. It's not easy to make a pass, it seems, on Williams. He does not want to back down. Pikul feels like he's quicker, but if anything, they're dead even on the pace.
Stag is closing as well. Rosenkrantz in the mix. Plenty still in with a chance, you'd have to say, at least for the time being, as through the double left they work. Pujon no longer. The double gauche is now the name of that long left-hand sweeper through Piff Path on the run up to one of the most important corners on this entire track. You get this wrong, you feel the pain all the way into the braking zone of the bus stop chicane. Just over 8 minutes left to go. Battle for the lead, separated once more. 8-10 splits Espes from Redford, but only 2 tenths back is Malo, who is closing with a vengeance.
Things getting very tied up at the very front. There it is. Malo within a tenth now. Within about 900ths. Just not close enough yet to go for the lunge, but is right there in the popcorn seat once again to be able to try and take advantage of any slip up, any mistake, especially with Redford starting to drop back here compared to the pace of Espes.
Remember, there's no fuel saving. There's not really much in terms of tire games that are being played either. It's very much just pedal to the metal, push from flag to flag as down the hill on that 2-kilometer run they go from La Source to Lacombe Though Rouge and Radion intersecting themselves in between. 8.5 tenths of a second still the gap between Espes and Redford. Mallow's got a whole healthy dose of draft. Will pop himself to the outside. Espes torn in two minds. Who do I give draft to? It doesn't matter. The 22 back up to second.
Nice smart move to be able to settle things down, knowing the pace going towards Mallow's direction. Now it's the matter of, can Mallow get there? He has a few laps to do it. Behind them, the battle is continuing to rage on and continuing to stay very busy for the fringes of the top 10 currently.
Kobe Williams and Pikul, Evan Pikul had spent most of this race side by side, but the 13 has inserted itself into the equation. Rosenkrantz and Stagg also doing battle. 3 groupings of cars, plenty of passing going on right now as Fata runs very, very wide down through Speaker's Corner, defensive on the run in towards Pouon. It's what Williams will want to see, the pressure between the 6th and the 7th place cars on track, battling back and forth, enabling the 994 to run away.
And that's the one thing I think Williams may want at this point, right? A bit of a breather with how busy it's been with Bakul. Now, though, Fata's not going to back down. He's put in a lot of time in terms of the sim race community to be able to build up the skills we talked about. Also does a lot of social work when it comes to social media. Looking to try and socialize with that rear wing possibly of Williams.
Fata doing a lot of the work from Team Redline, if I do remember correctly,
right,
involved with potentially the biggest team in all of sim racing, but out here on track enjoying himself and managing to qualify for this one. That'll be something to talk about, that's for sure. Fata and Williams, they'll be side by side into the bus stop chicane. Long way around for the 13, who will squirrel himself to the second part of the corner. Opens the door up for the 23 to go with the up and under. This is the fight to watch. They're still not really squabbling for the race lead, where the prizes are on the line.
And that's going to be something to watch for, is if Mallow can get a chance. See how things are playing out amongst them, though. Redford still wants to get second back, and this might be exactly what Espes may want to see here.
The more they fight, the bigger the gap will get. Surely that's the thing. It's not Indianapolis, it's not an IndyCar. You're not going to swap draft your way to the front of the field. They're closing, and maybe some bump drafting. Daytona, Talladega style will close that gap up.
Looking like they may have played the smart card here. Try and work together. Try and coordinate with each other to plan this out. That's the major thing. Can they work together to close up? They have a few minutes on the clock to get the job done.
4.5 odd minutes left to go. Pikul sliding backwards. The 23's come across some sort of shenanigans. He's back to pit road along with Matthew Stagg. 2 more retirees from this race. 15 down to 9 in the blink of an eye.
And that's unfortunate for Pikul, who was battling so hard for position for much of this race. But still, Mallow's not gaining enough ground, I don't think, to be able to challenge Espes, Arjuna. He needs to gain another couple tenths to get a chance here for at least the final lap.
2 to go this time by, with lap times upwards now of about 2:12. We have cut out a significant chunk of our lap time since the opening stage of the race. 2:12 a lap around Spa in these Dallara F3s with just under 4 minutes left on the clock. Therefore, logically, 2 laps, 14 odd kilometers left to decide this one. We'll grab a look at the RaceBot TV replay of what happened. It's Pikul around the outside of Malmedy, gets shoved off straight into the gravel. And the new damage model taking no prisoners, although that car that squeaked on by, rather lucky to survive.
Very lucky to keep on going there, to say the very least, especially with how hard the hit it seemed for a moment was towards the left front, or the left side of that left front. That's the major thing, though. You have to be able to get lucky in some cases, but we're down to the final 3 minutes or so in this one. Espes still has a near 1 second buffer over the Hornet's Nest for the rest of the prizes.
Now a good run up through Eau Rouge over the crest might enable the group of second on back to close, but it doesn't look like they're doing so. A bit more speed from the number 4 car, who's in a fixed setup competition, managed to just find some unreal pace. They're 3 wide for second. Redford, Benitez, Mallow all trying to figure out where to go. It's Redford and Benitez that will stick side by side on the run up towards Malmedy. Redford holds on to second, Mallow slides to 4th.
Benitez, one of the top drivers in official competition this past iRacing season in the championship top 5, showcasing why that was the case when it comes to Benitez. Now though, Benitez wanting to find a way around Redford for that second spot here as they continue to fight for the second, third, and fourth steps in this race order.
Wave goodbye to Pablo Espez, 1.3 seconds clear of Redford on back. About a lap and a half left to go. He's not totally out of the drafting range, but as near as makes no difference. From here, it's going to take a gargantuan effort, cooperation between Redford, Benitez, and Malo to close to your race leader. On the run up towards Blanchemont for the penultimate time, 1.3, and building, Espez has found unreal speed.
Not a surprise to see how quick Espez can be as a driver. He's got plenty of experience, but for Benitez, he's been very surprising in terms of the long run pace. He has been one of the quickest drivers on track during this run towards the finish. Here he goes for second.
Side by side through Blanchemont, it's risky, but you can do it in these smaller, lower weight, lower downforce, lower horsepower cars. Redford, Benitez still in the status quo second and third. Will Malo have a look on the run up towards La Source with 1 lap to go in Max Esterson's iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker? Pablo Espez leads from Will Redford, Ralph Benitez, and Alfredo Malo. 4 cars still with a chance of victory.
Espez just needed to make sure there's no mistakes. Redford having to play the biggest defense of his year, to say the very least. Plenty of experience in the real world, plenty of experience in the virtual world, but it's not going to be easy. Down that Camel straight with how we've seen it 3 wide. Here comes the run, Benitez.
Now Espez is being closed on, but while they fight, it will give him a bit more breathing room. Benitez should sail on past Redford. Where's Malo in the equation on the run in towards Lecombe for the very final time? Single file for the top 4 as it stands right now, but with time winding down, Marin gets in front of Williams for 7th spot, the 994, the 17-year-old drops all the way down to 8th. We still watch this battle for the lead as time is about to expire. This lap left to go. Pablo Espez 1 second clear of Benitez, who's on the charge but running out of ground.
And Pablo Espez, a driver who can win in anything that has 4 tires and a steering wheel when it comes to his experience. Winner when it comes to sports cars. Winner when it comes to open wheel competitions in the league scene, when it comes to his nation. And now, just half a lap down to about a third of a lap away for Pablo Espez to pick up a huge victory for his career.
Gap stabilized between 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, not looking to impose themselves, at least for the time being. Final time and a bit of a step out of the rear end there, through Stavelo, through the curve pull Frere, for your race leader, Obsidian Racing Zone, Pablo Espez. With under a kilometer left to go, he climbs his way into Blanchemont, a dominating drive from the 4.
And as soon as he took the race lead, he just looked comfortable. Long run pace. Espez watching the battle behind for 3rd, but just has to focus on 1 more corner.
They're fighting through the bus stop for 3rd. There's contact there, but out of the final corner, the 16-year-old Pablo Espez will win Max Esterson's iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker and walk away with almost $1,400 in ButtKicker prizes. It was a short 30-minute race. Espez had to fight with the likes of Will Redford, but once he broke clear, he did not look back, and that was a dominant performance from the Spaniard.
A very dominant performance on the long run in particular, and some drivers with that fall-off difference we talked about with the fuel burn, but with the tires too, have that right knack when it comes to teeter-tottering that difference. Espez did that to perfection today.
Can tell that he's got some experience with doing some celebratory donuts. There's Pablo Espez, many a win here on the iRacing official platform even. But with 14 laps in the books and 30 minutes of racing, Max Esterson's iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker has seen a winner in the form of Obsidian Racing's Pablo Espez. Ralph Benitez tried, but was unable to get the gap for the lead. Down below a second, Will Redford will hold on for the final step of the podium, while your time attack winner won't walk away with any prizes from the race. He'll walk away though with prizes from our time attack qualifying sessions. Abdul Fattah will be inside of the top 5 with Chris Rosenkrantz right behind him. Charlie Martin and Kobe Williams complete the top 8. Only one more car left on the lead lap. It was Aro Lehtinen in that number 5. Evan Pekel, well, him and the Kobe Williams 994 car spent most of the race side by side until he wasn't. That seemed like the story of today's 14 laps with a 23 car. Down in 11th, it was Matthew Stagg with Thorsten Ulrich, Gianfranco Pagota, Max Esterson, and Alessandro Romanelli through the top 15. And for the number 7, Gianfranco Pagota, after being 700ths off the pace in our time attack qualifying, will be very frustrated to finish 11 laps down in this race. And while the fastest lap went to Pablo Espes with the draft in the early stages of the race, it was the pace without the hole in the air that ultimately impressed us as he sailed his way to a ButtKicker Gamer Pro 4 Quarters kit with Haptic Connect Ultimate prize for winning this race. And even though, Justin Prince, we didn't get to see much of Max Esterson, we talked to him before the race, we talked to him even before we went live, he was glad to be back on iRacing. He knows what sim racing has done to his career, and for him, this is likely the first of many a community event.
Hope so indeed, especially with the excitement he showcased before today's event. Being able to race against these members, be able to get back into sim racing in turn, to be able to battle it out on the racetrack, and was nervous a bit at the start, but still got some good positions until the positions went kaboom.
Waiting to see if we'll get the chance to talk to any of our drivers inside of the top 3, Pablo Espes, Ralph Benitez, or even Will Redford, but for now we'll continue to talk about what's coming up in the world of iRacing. So many things on the horizon, of course. Most recently, or most soon on our horizon, is the iRacing Off-Road Championship series, which heads to Bark River this coming Wednesday. But this Thursday, a special presentation on the iRacing Esports Network. iRacing joins forces with the National MS Society for the 2nd year in the row as we go racing at the Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta for the Peachtree 3, benefiting the National MS Society. Join us here on the iRacing Esports Network on Thursday for all the fun, for all of the action. Unfortunately, doesn't look like we're going to get the chance to chat with our drivers, and so before we say goodbye, I'll bring back in Justin Prince to round off what has been a short but fun evening of racing action. This is what iRacing is about having some fun, doing something different, and ultimately allowing us to live our racing dreams.
Absolutely, and for many of these drivers, it takes tons of work to be able to get yourself into a situation such as to be able to get yourself in this place, to be able to showcase your speed against some of the best in your community, and that's what we've seen tonight against Max in particular. Pablo Espes, absolutely stellar long run pace. Ralph Benitez, stellar long run pace to charge for the mid-pack in particular, and you have to give credit to Will Redford. He was there the entire night and made sure his name was noted by his competitors right from the get-go. A fun race to say the very least, but in the end, the driver with the best skills towards the end of the run to be able to hold on with the tires, with the fuel burn, and also with the clean air, took the checkered flag tonight.
It was all live on the iRacing.com service, the world's premier motorsport simulator. And if you want to join the fun, join the action, head over to iRacing.com, where new memberships are 40% off. You can join us and get on the road to your own virtual checkered flag. For now, though, for tonight, it is time to bid you farewell. What fun we had today as we celebrated the blurring lines between virtual and reality as ButtKicker parted with their newest member of their roster, Max Esterson, for the Max Esterson's iRacing Challenge presented by ButtKicker. This race was live on RaceBot TV and the iRacing Esports Network, and we thank you for joining us. Plenty more action from iRacing's to come in the next couple of weeks, and make sure you follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube. We'll be back through the next couple of weeks bringing you all the action that you want to stick around for. We paid out almost $4,000 in prizes thanks to our friends at ButtKicker, so we thank them for joining us for the fun. We thank Max Esterson for giving us his time to celebrate him here today, while on behalf of the team at RaceBot TV, on behalf of the entire team at iRacing, we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you for the rest of 2022 and plenty more esports action here live on the iRacing Esports Network.